Hey friends, if you decided to play any Wormhaven trials, especially solo, this map is extremely punishing. And some of you can't articulate why, and I hope to explain that in this video, as well as demystify the map so you can be more confident breaking the midline of the map and getting something started for your team. If you want to skip immediately to the guide, look at the timestamp on the screen right now. Otherwise, I'm going to go over how I came to this conclusion, which I think is interesting. So here's how that process all started. Obviously, Warlock has Icarus Dash, Warlock gets to the middle for free, and teammates are so conditioned to that they sort of give up and never cross the midline, right? So the answer is either play Dawnblade or don't play. There's a couple other options. There's Astrocyte Blink, there's Grapple, and there's just normal Blink. Even normal Blink is fast enough. I guess you could use a Stompy Head Bounce and still sometimes make timing. But the thing about Wormhaven is not all of the initial spawns are the same. Sometimes it has you facing outward really far away from making it to the glass. Still, I'd bet the comment section is saying, well, just play Dawnblade. The thing is, when I play Dawnblade, just because I part the Red Sea with the Beyblade and take the middle of the map, doesn't mean that my teammates are going to do anything. So ultimately, I need to find a solution on Hunter, since Hunter has a much better flowchart for winning 1v3 scenarios. If you didn't know, I main console now for a variety of reasons. Also, if you see block symbols in the roster, that's a nat type error, not necessarily a block. Block doesn't even do anything in this game, but I see that in the comment section so much, I thought I would mention it. But another reason I play Hunter is because, let's say it was a competitive playlist scenario, I can't just instantly swap to Warlock, nor on controller am I going to be as dexterous and accurate with Dawnblade to make it worth using. Controller players play Dawnblade in a completely different way than mouse and keyboard Dawnblades. So yeah, if you're cracked on MNK, just do what you were normally doing and it's going to be perfectly fine on this map. But I'm trying to make a more holistic game plan for every PvP scenario, and I feel like Hunter answers that in a way that's a lot easier to understand what you did wrong, so you can realistically skill issue your way out of the problem next time. Another way to put it is that Hunter has so many options that you will find something that is a high percent play. So let's go in order to how I approach this map. I started on Invis, but I ran into an issue where I was exposed to sniper lanes and pulse rifles and wasn't able to cross without getting 90% of my health ripped. I was using Rat King and Invis, and I won majority of my matches with that setup, but it just wasn't consistent enough. So I needed something else. I needed something to get me into the middle of the map quick, so I decided on Grapple. Specifically the Widow Silk variant that gives you 2 charges, so I could double tap the grapple button to use half a charge, TJ Henryoshi, so that I could still make it to middle in time with using less cooldowns. Makes sense, right? Except for the fact that if you happen to die at any point in the match, it resets your grapple charges down to 1 full charge. Even if you're like 1.5 charge and die, it gets reset all the way back to 1. Which is kind of annoying because I was cooking up something pretty devious by using a slice fusion rifle to make tangles with that one aspect that turns your tangle into a tornado. Here's the craziest part. Even if the grapple wasn't bugged, sometimes Wormhaven has you facing the wrong direction to make the most out of your grapple, and you're still going to lose to a Dawnblade who is going full force down to mid. Take a look at Dawnblade's POV. So by just playing Dawnblade, preferably with speed boots, you are guaranteed map control in the middle by chaining Icarus Dash to burst glides. And just like that, you have map control. Your opponents are probably right there, so you're able to fly up for free. Using this pillar as a way to be ambiguous, you can crouch it out. You can close off that piece of cover, especially if you're using like Ace or something, you shouldn't get flanked. You can throw an AoE nade at this door, keep them out. You can crouch right here so that they can't shoot you for free. Dawnblade owns this map, and that is what has conditioned lower skill players to feel like this is the only part of the map they're allowed to play. They look through the glass, they're petrified to do anything. They hold this angle right here. They're a little petrified to push past this line of death. And so it's really, really hard to convince your teammates to push up with you when taking the map is what you're supposed to do. And so today's video is trying to demystify that process and try to get your teammates in the mix by being so fast to mid that they get bored or the obvious thing to do becomes more obvious. Because once again, teammates for the first time ever have to adjust to the map being open for once, whereas they just see it as this insurmountable, impassable wall that is the midline of the map. Okay, recapping, Invis Hunter got caught, Grapple Hunter has a bug, so then the next logical conclusion is go Blink Hunter, play Arc Strider. But Prism exists, so we can do one even better. Keep in mind that Prism has Facet of Solitude, a fragment that allows you to get invis for just hitting your time to kill with Hawkmoon. So it's all coming together now. You see the vision that leads me to why I play the way I do on this map, right? Grapple for timing, Blink for timing, Facet of Solitude so you can 1v3 better, Hawkmoon to rat out those really long combat scenarios, a fast super in the form of Tether, which is probably the worst one, or Squall. I'm using Tether because of harmonic mods. I would probably win more matches if I use Squall. But essentially, use Grapple and Blink to get in quick, use Gemini to get the first pick, use Hawkmoon to maintain advantage, use Invis to go hunting. So after I established that plan, I just started experimenting with different special weapons and different aggressive opening routes to see what would give me the most bang for the buck, that of course I'm going to show you in this video, but I'll just show you the experiment. I tried a lightweight shotgun with Discord, like, I don't know, coping here. Maybe I get a Hawkmoon kill and I use Discord and Surrounded to like blow up a team or something with my shotgun. But really it's just a placeholder lightweight weapon to see if I would notice a difference using a lightweight weapon for mid-map timings. And the answer is, if you grapple Blink, not really. You're getting there so ahead of the enemy anyway that I don't think lightweight weapons matter. And if you really had to, you could just pull like Salvager's Salvo, I think it's called, a grenade launcher, because grenade launchers are really good on this map. But anyway, long story short, you don't need a lightweight weapon, so you can just use the tried and true fusion rifle, which is coincidentally a void fusion rifle. You should be using that Garden fusion. It is brokenly strong right now. Or you use a slug shotgun. Nessa's Oblation, the one I'm using in the featured gameplay, it's really good, arguably the best. I just don't like the gun model. It's a little distracting, so I typically end up using the Iron Banner one. Also, the Iron Banner one has Skulking Wolf. Let's just get on to the guide. Anytime I use one of these maps, I have to shout out Relict on Twitter. Follow him, buy him a beer. These videos are so much prettier with these maps. Thank you. So one of the main issues with Wormhaven are these opening spawns. As you can see, it gives two players a pretty ideal path to make it to mid, whereas it makes one player either turn around and lose precious seconds, or take a longer route that can expose them to potential sniper fire. The purple are the 3 zones. So of course you're pretty much taking the exact same route to get map control for these 2 zones. And there's a special case for this zone, but essentially you do the same thing anyway. And then on the opposite side, it gives you 2 players facing outside and 1 inside. This player can probably still make it to mid if they have speed boots or a grapple or something, but this player is screwed. So just depending on RNG, the game decides whether or not you make the middle of the map timing to reach these choke points before your opponent. Today's video is trying to demystify this map and make you not afraid to venture beyond those choke points. So let's look in-game now. Spawn 1, spawn 2, spawn 3. Spawn 3 is the one where you just accept that you're going to be slow. And so I already talked about how I'm using both a Blink and a grapple so that my rollouts are a little bit faster. And it looks something like swap weapon, Blink, shoulder charge, use your third person to see if someone else is also doing that. Then you want to hug this wall because remember, you could get sniped if somebody else is a high skill player. So you still want to build the habit of playing around sniper rifles so you don't have to worry about it later. So all you do is just short hop, Blink in, then you hug this piece of cover, and then you have 2 options. You either blink through and go under, or you can go up top. And if you're going up top, you got to be careful for this glass. I'm just going to show you right now. You can like try to blink and not make it through because that glass is a real object. So then you clamber up to here, you blink through, and you're in. Awesome. Then just so you can see what going under looks like. Same exact thing. You want to look at your radar to tell if there's red on the right side, because typically an opponent if their non-contributor angle will be something like this, and they might snipe you or pulse you out if you're being too lazy about your crossing. So always, always, always pretend like you're playing against an aimbotter, and it's going to pay dividends in the future. So, short hop cross, hug the wall, let my blinks reset, blink cross, and I've taken minimal damage getting in. So now that I'm here, I can pull out a threat detector weapon, or maybe you use a shotgun with threat detector or something like that. The enemy can see through the glass, right? So they're not fooled, even if you Gemini them. But your radar tells all. If there's a red ping right here, well, you know somebody is trying to get an angle. And so you can kind of slow them down by just using Gemini. And it might tag, like, all 3 opponents. And in that time, your teammates are getting kind of bored. And they might push up to the midline, which will help you ultimately win the match. Once your teammates are at the midline, that's when you sort of shift away from hugging this wall to now ratting. So you want to just like time a crouch around the enemy's curiosity. You're going to be off the radar. They're going to peek. Maybe you make some noise, right? Like you shoot your gun or something. Try to create what might look like an urgent situation so that the flanker takes the bait and bites. Then you just put a single Hawkmoon bullet in and you just rinse and repeat that process until you have the Hawkmoon perk. Now, obviously, it doesn't always go as planned. A teammate overextends, someone goes down, maybe an enemy makes a mistake and you punish them for it. You just need to know what to do. So, once you finally rat out a Hawkmoon round or get a pick or something like that, take advantage of your 3v2 or your 2v1 or your 3v1 and really try to drag the round out so you can start the next round out with a grapple. It's very advantageous. So now let's do the other side. Once you have the outside spawn. I'm going to pull up the Wormhaven map again, of course, while my blinks reset. So now we're working on this side. I believe it has 2 spawns outside and 1 inside. And if you do have this inside spawn, you have to be aware of Stalag. You know the correct one. There's like a spike on the ceiling that'll stop you from blinking horizontally. So you have to be aware of that when you're trying to blink out of here. I didn't hit it there, but you know what I'm talking about. You just have to wait a second. So in most cases, you want to use your blinks and your grapple as soon as possible so that both your grapple can start cooling down sooner and you can get your blinks back sooner, which means you're getting to the center of the map sooner. This is what it would look like, the rollout. Same thing, hug this wall, except you have an extra step right here. You see that pillar? You can throw a smoke there if you want, and that will completely close out the glass from pushing forward. So exact same thing. You're going under. If you see red right here, you want to hug this piece of cover without overextending. If you have a smoke down, you know they can't cross for free. So just crouch right here. Pull out your threat detector if you want. And you can choose between Geminiing all 3 players or really hugging the wall to guarantee that you get a smoke back. Just depends on what your teammates are doing and if they're fast enough to cover you. But typically, I'll crouch right here, not even use Gemini, and somebody will just wide swing this. So I'll get 2 free bullets in, then I'll dodge, and by the time that happens, that smoke dissipates. Then it Gemini's these 2 players, and they're really, really scared. Then my teammates are bored, then they push up, then we get map control, and I continue ratting. So that's my take on outside spawns. I guess I should talk about outside zone, just so you know what to do. Exact same opener for the outside zone. You still want to control up top. You just don't want to make the mistake of standing like right here out in the open, especially not crouching. Look at how that crouch removes the threat. I see a lot of teammates just like stand right here out in the open and then get surprised when an opponent's playing the head glitch right here. Because you can sort of just do this and it looks like bullets are flying through the floor. So if you are the teammate up top, you want to use this nice piece of cover right here. Your you want to use your slides too, if you can, if you have the dexterity for slides. And just work 1 bullet at a time. Work towards Hawkmoon, work towards Teraba, something like that, a win condition gun. That's why I always recommend these on these lopsided maps. Because you're always going to be playing from behind if you're down on cooldowns and your teammates are weaker. You just auto lose mid. That's the point of this video. So assuming that you're playing from behind, yeah, you're working 1 bullet at a time. You're not overextending. 1 teammate has to play this position, and then the other one has to flank. You have to be able to shoot them in the side to make sure that they don't think that piece of cover is safe. So notice how I haven't exposed the angle yet. I can just walk along this wall, and then I can full slide this if I want. I can work this piece of cover and just be a pain in the ass. And then between myself and the teammate up top working like a pack of hyenas nipping at the heels, we make standing on that zone near impossible, especially if you start throwing some grenades. There's another thing you can do with grapple that's kind of cool, where you can blink grapple. Let's say you like hear some gunfire going off and the zone's like 90% capped. You can blink past and then grapple melee into them. So grapple blink into them. It's still an offensive tool, even inside. So yes, blink can be used offensively. I'll show you another example as if they're capping the top middle zone. Put a shot in. They have a shotgun out because they're expecting you, right? They're expecting you to grapple melee, but the blink completely throws off their pre-aim. So even that single bullet of Hawkmoon allows you to grapple melee. It's really hard to do that precisely in these narrow hallways, because if you hit a wall or a ceiling or something like that, it'll take away your ability to grapple melee. It's very tight. Then that turns into a tangle. Tangle equals third person, and you can even use the tangle to set up a future grapple route. So if I like took my tangle all the way over here as my teammates are cleaning up a final kill, I could just like leave a grapple point in the air right here. Of course, obviously, if I use my grapple to make the tangle, that grapple point's useless. But sometimes with Thread of Facet of Solitude, I mean, you make a tangle from just getting your Hawkmoon kill. I'm going to show you what the inside route is. It's exactly what you think it is. So if you have one of the inside players, all you have to do is wait for your teammate to choose a lane. Because if you try to run the exact same route as them, you're going to be blinking into their back and ultimately going slow. And they don't know any better. They're not on speed boots. They're not on Icarus Dash. They're not on Astrocyte Blink. They're just going to ultimately slow you down. Like basically like this. You get blink and then you're stalled. And then you blink and then you're stalled. You're like, well, what was the point of blinking? You gotta wait until they commit to their lane. You still will break mid in time, trust. So let's say he commits to going that side. I want to grapple, same exact rollout. And you will beat the opponents to mid, keep the sniper out, look at the radar. You can blink through again if you want timing. And once you make it here, threat detector on the glass. If you don't see anything red right here, you can assume that they're not flanking unless you hear an invis sound. Then you're looking for red outside, someone really far away. So if it says threat times 1, you know 1 player's glass. Threat times 2, 2 players' glass. If you have danger zone or something like that, you could see 3 players' glass. But you're really just looking for that single flanker and a threat times 2. So you Gemini 2, and you've isolated 1 single player outside. And that is where you have to diff them in order to make up for your own teammates' shortcomings that inevitably will happen to you in trials. That's the point of today's video. Then we'll do an inside route for this side, and then I think I'll call it for the examples. Have to be careful for the spike. I think you can grapple right off the rip, and it's going to be just as fast. Something like this. And then that positions you to go match the other player's timing if they're doing something similar. Once again, radar out. If you want to, you can throw a smoke to isolate a 1 potentially right here. You don't want to full commit if you don't know if it's more than 1 player, because you might get deleted. Could be a snipe, could be a bow, something like that. So you can just blink through and get close to Gemini and your fusion rifle, and that'll be a lot safer. And you're just buying time for your teammates to show up to mid. I realize I forgot one of the openers, which is getting into glass as fast as possible. Sometimes that matters on power round. Once again, you spawn in, check that your teammate isn't about to body block you. Then you send a grapple, quick swap. Use your blinks, you're in. You can smoke right here. But this pillar right here is so important because it blocks their vision. The glass they see through, this pillar they don't. So you can use that to get in really, really close fast. And you can also close out this angle. The only thing you're exposed to is that door right there if you push up too close. But you might have to, because you might have a fusion rifle. And if you just hold crouch here when you're that far ahead, you can time like a smoke toss into this jiggle peak. Someone will slide into the smoke and you just obliterate them with the fusion. And you're already +1. And your team can potentially get power. I'm not even joking. I lost a round today because I got a kill put in some damage, and my teammates didn't even leave glass to grab power ammo. They just lost it around like that. So it does happen. Anyway, friends, I hope that really solidifies my approach to this map and trying really just the process of clawing back map control so you don't have to automatically concede and play a very passive playstyle that low skill teammates get ran over for. This gives you chances to win matches that you otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to win, and you can diff other players if you are more skilled than them. So that's what you can aspire to do. In case you wanted to copy the build one-to-one, I'm using my tried and true Eye of the Storm Hawkmoon. I tried a rangefinder one, but I think I'd like it more if it had small bore here instead of full bore. Ended up liking Eye of the Storm, and I think on console I might like opening shot the best, but of course Xur has to sell that in the future. For the special weapon, I think Zealot's Reward is one of the most powerful special weapons in the game, almost warranting closing time to get a nerf, so I wouldn't get too comfortable with this role. Use it if it's close enough roll. You don't actually have to get all 5 red borders. Just get one that's decent enough, because I promise you there's no way that they don't nerf this. Pause for dramatic effect. Sometimes they leave things in the game for too long. These are the mods. Dynamo helps you get a super early. I did mention that Tether is inconsistent, so you might want to go Squall since they're the same. Most important one, Facet of Solitude, so Hawkmoon makes you go invis. Since I'm not using combination blow, I like Blessing. And then Dawn to get Radiant off of Smoke, which does help sometimes supply a Hawkmoon 2-tap. You also get Radiant off the Grapple, which is very convenient. You could even use Paracausal Affinity on Nessa, but I like that with combination blow and Titan better to give body shots with Radiant. And then this is the Nessa that I use. If I could recraft it, I would go for Demolitionist for this specific map, so I could get more grapples. Thanks for watching the video and the guide and this meta progression talk. I will see y'all in the next.